to Soul Before Sunrise. We all know in real estate that design can make or break a first impression, and today's guest is someone who does that at a very high level. Javier Burkle is the founder of Burkle Creative, a Dallas-based interior design firm known for elevated, refined spaces that truly stand out. His work blends sophistication with warmth in a way that feels both current and timeless. Today, we're talking design trends and what today's buyers are really responding to. Javier, welcome to Soul Before Sunrise. Let's dive in.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. What a pleasure it is.
Sweet. No, we're excited to be here.
Good, good. Well, quick question.
Yes.
How did you end your evening last night?
So Sunday's usually my low-key night. So it's usually take in, like order in, and then just stay at home and catch up on TV. We usually do brunch with my family on Sunday mornings.
Oh,
so
nice.
the afternoon is pretty much our free stay at home, low-key, no drinking on Sunday.
Yes.
Try to, so that I can start my Monday morning kind of like as energized, as ready for it as I can. And then trainer in the morning, and then Monday meetings every morning, Monday at 9 with the office. So
yeah.
We got that checked, and it was a good meeting. So here we are now.
Good, 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 good. Do you have a favorite brunch spot?
So Sunday we usually go to my parents.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But this Sunday actually we did Sedale's.
Okay.
It was just a good classic, you know, a bagel, lots.
Yes,
it was
I
perfect.
love it.
So
I
yeah.
love it. Well, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, starting out, what originally drew you into interior design?
So interior design has been in my blood since the beginning. My mom was a textile designer. My grandmother was an interior designer. So I grew up going to fabric stores and showrooms and furniture and everything since I was a baby. So that was kind of like where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my career in fashion, retail.
Okay.
And then I went to Ralph Lauren, and that's where I found my passion for interior design. I did a little bit of sales for Ralph, but then I started doing merchandising and then interiors after. And when I started doing the merchandising and changing the store quarterly and, you know, creating these like vignettes and like little lifestyle moments, that's when I was like, this is what I need to be doing. And I need to I love fashion world and like the fast pace of it, but this is my calling and I need to be focusing on this and learning what I need to be like, you know, experiencing and going from there. So yeah, that's kind of like where it all started.
I love that. Well, when you started Burkle Creative, what type of spaces did you feel most drawn to?
So one thing that I love doing is entertaining. So I feel like at the beginning, entertaining spaces was kind of like where I wanted to focus on. So dining rooms and living rooms, kind of like the more formal areas. And that's where it all kind of started. Even like sitting at a table, that's kind of like how I showed clients and started creating relationships with, you know, when I started a business, it was kind of like small projects, and it's even like, let me just come set your table for a special event. And then it was kind of like, okay, well, can you do the wallpaper and can we dress the room and like change the lighting? And that's kind of like how it all started flowing. So that's kind of like where I started focusing on at the beginning. Then there was a period where it started doing nurseries, which is very interesting. But I feel like
That's a big difference.
Big switch. Yes, absolutely. But it was kind of like fun because it was like all my friends that were in that stage of their life where they're moving into their first home and they want to do a room that's going to be special to bring their first kid home. So it's kind of like where they want to spend a little more money. And that's kind of a little niche that we got into at the beginning. And it was awesome. We kind of became like the little experts of nurseries. And like we had a little checklist for every parent to like make sure everything was, you know, right before the baby comes home from the hospital. So
oh, that's fun. That's
it was
fun.
really
and
fun.
such a personal, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. You really get to know exactly how the parents want to, you know, the layout and what they need and everything. And we have kind of like a rule with nurseries. I feel like it's important to spend money on a nursery, but it needs to be thought long term. So we want to make it a little bit more elevated. Like if we're going to do wallpaper, we want to make sure it's something that is not just like a baby stage. It's something that when you change it into a bed instead of the crib, it still works. And like your drapery, that's a big investment. So we want to make sure that the investment that we did on the drapery is something that's going to be able for them to grow as, you know, as they get older, you know.
Yes, no, I love that because typically it's all baby.
Right.
And then you're having to redo
and change everything.
Exactly.
I mean, same with lighting. Let's spend a good amount of time on like figuring out what the lighting is, how the layout's going to be later on, you know, for it to like make sense that it all works.
Right.
So yeah, we try to make the investment make sense for the clients, not just like a couple period of a
Right.
stage of the
It'll last
kid's
you for
life.
2
So,
years, and then
and then you have to start over.
right.
That's one thing that we do not like, and we do not want our clients to feel like that. We
Sure.
want you to spend the money for it to be like a long-term
I love
commitment
it.
and investment.
Do you have a favorite nursery?
Ooh, that's a hard one to learn. Yes, but
What's the style, or what is it? What is it?
we were asked to do one that was kind of like Ralph Lauren theme, and of course
Yes.
that was kind of like my
One of your
favorite
favorites,
thing.
right?
So we did like the plaid curtains and a vintage antique dresser, and we did like the curtains for the crib that turned into like the bed, and then we did a velvet that was easy to clean, little sofa
Yeah.
in the room, dark green. It was gorgeous.
Oh,
And you see the
sounds-
room, and it still has evolved with the kid, which is awesome. So
Right.
it's kind of fun, for them to see it, enjoy it, and just appreciate like nice things, even from a young age. Like that dresser you can have when you move to college. It's a
That's
nice
right.
piece. Like
Ooh,
maybe
I
it's
love
something that you
Yes.
take with you. So it's kind of fun to like make them feel special from a
Love
young
that.
age. So
Love that. Was there a defining moment when you knew this was the right path? I mean, you talked a little bit about, when you were with Ralph. Yeah.
I think there's two defining moments. I think whenever we get the clients to come back to the house when the house is done and the candles are lit and like the house is perfect for them to walk in and feel at home, that's always a assurance, like it's like their feeling and like their emotions and their reactions. That's always at every project something that we love, and it kind of gives you the reassurance of like we're doing the right thing and the client's happy and they feel at
Right.
home and it was worth the time and their money, and the pains that, because it's a process that takes time. It's painful for some clients, like it's a big commitment. So that's one part. But I think when I felt like I was doing the right thing is when my first client called me to come and do their second home. Or like we did the first one and then we did a good job and they were satisfied that they were ready to do the next project, And that's when I was like, okay, clearly if they liked working with us, they're ready to come back. And we have a lot of clients that we've had for almost 10 years. That's when I started the company, that we've done multiple houses for, and not just locally, but like that's when the lake house starts, or like Colorado, or like a second property.
Right.
So when they call you back and they're like, okay, we're going to the next property, it's when you feel like, okay, they're clearly enjoying what we've done.
Right.
They clearly know that we are to be trusted, and let's move on to the next one. So
That's right. Very similar to realtors,
Absolutely. Yeah.
kind of multi-generational too.
100%,
is,
yes.
we get a lot of that as
Yeah,
well.
that's a big thing. I mean, with the nursery thing, I think we've had several clients that are like, the parents are like now gifting the kids their nursery, and they're like, let them start with the nursery being like the nice room, and it's kind of like a really sweet
So special.
gift,
Yes.
We've had a couple clients that work that way, and it's kind of really fun for the parents to tell us what they need, but then it's kind of like surprise, and it's kind of like a little bit of a
Right.
special way to like get that room
I
done.
love
So,
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, how do you balance creativity with running a business? Because they're two very different.
That is the hardest part of the job.
It is.
Because what I like the most is being creative. I want to create the rooms. I want to, layer the personality of the client with our aesthetic. Like that is my favorite thing to do. But as business grows, we have to become an actual business that has a team, and we need to run how it needs to be run. And that has been the hardest thing. And it's just creating that balance of hiring the right people that you trust, with spending the time on what you like doing. And I think the fact that, our team is small. There's only 6 of us.
Okay, I was going to ask.
It's kind of like the perfect size. I don't think I ever want to get any bigger. And I feel like I got a really good advice from another designer. It's like the things that are not your forte, the things that are not the things that you enjoy doing, those are the things that you need to start passing on.
Yes.
So of course my first one was accounting. I'm like, I do not want to be doing numbers. I do not want to be, following up on the invoices.
Yes.
So that was my first hire, and it was like, okay, as long as we get very clear on what gets charged and what gets invoiced, I get to like design and put the rooms together. So I feel like that's kind of how I've learned how those positions have been like filled. And it's creating that team that you trust. My team, it's pretty amazing, but our turnaround is actually very low. Like most of the people have been with me, and we barely have to like switch or, find a new position for anyone. So it's been pretty amazing. So
they've been with you for a while.
For a while. Yeah, which is great.
So more similarities with the realtors, just because they, in building their team, it's very important as to who the right fit is. And so super important.
And I think it's really important. all 6 of us have to be client face. So it is something that you have to trust your team to be able to be in front of a client. And if they have any questions, everyone knows all the answers. If there's any, scheduling or anything, we all are on the same page. It's just kind of similar,
Right.
You want to make sure if someone else is showing your property or someone else is doing the walkthrough, everyone is going to be able to be capable
Deliver
of
the
answering.
same experience and know exactly, have the
Yeah,
knowledge.
we're a brand that we should all be responsible and representing the same way. So
Right.
it's pretty important.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go to design trends.
Okay.
From your perspective, how has luxury design evolved in Dallas over the last few years?
I think we're becoming more, I feel like we're spending more money on things that you want to age better. Like, I think we're walking away from minimalism, and like we're trying to create spaces that feel a little bit more lived in, that are also going to last longer. Like, we're not going with like a trendy, like this feels good for a couple of years and it's going to change and then it just looks aged. I think the layers that we're creating are, combining different times. Like if you break an antique, like you can't tell when was that built. And I think that helps. I feel like creating the different layers with natural materials and like materials that you're spending a little bit more money, then it kind of helps it feel, a little more timeless. I think lighting is a huge thing that's transformed. I feel like people used to like just do like LED lights, and now we're like, okay, no, we need to become a lot more warmer spaces that feel like have been there for a while. So it kind of feels like they're growing, getting better with time. I think that's kind of like a big thing.
Kind of moving away from the all white, the stark,
all white, exactly.
all of that.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that cold feel of like the grays, the whites is kind of going away, and we're going to the warmer, a little bit more lived in. Feels a little bit more, has a little more character.
Sure. Okay. What are today's buyers gravitating toward in high-end homes?
I feel like it kind of goes back to, I feel like there was a big trend in open spaces. There was the open concept kitchen and the living, and, it was all big rooms. And I feel like it goes back to scale. Like, I think we want to create spaces that each space has a functionality. And I think clients are looking for that. I feel like there's big families that have kids. They do want an open concept kitchen, maybe for them to be able to entertain with the kids in the TV room. But I feel like there's also spaces that are going back to like, there is a formal living, there is a formal dining, there is a specific character that you want to create in each room, where instead of like just becoming very minimal and like very clean line, like I feel like you're creating a lot more character and like specific spaces for specific tasks. And it changes, I mean, as you live in it, but you want it to have the different flow. Where it's not just like one big
open space.
Exactly. Yeah.
What design elements immediately elevate a space?
Lighting is my number one thing. I think lighting changes everything. I feel like the color of your light bulbs, but also like it's not just.
Okay, so light bulbs. Let's talk about light bulbs. What kind of light bulbs are your go-to?
We're always going for warm, never white light. That is
it's just
huge. I mean, we're not in an office, we're not in a hospital. But we should feel like it's inviting, and everything has to have a dimmer. Like during the day, you're going to change your lighting throughout the day. So in the morning, you might want to turn it a little higher, but at night, turn it down a little bit. And, even a little candle will make a big difference. And it's not just about your can lights. We actually try to put as least, like we want to get rid of the can lights as much as we can. But it's important for some rooms. But it's all about the layer of lighting. Like we have your table lamps and your floor lamps and your chandeliers and your pendants and your sconces. I mean, I have lights on in my house all the time, 24/7. My art lights are on all the time. My table lamps in my living room are all the time, And it depends on the room, of course. And you want to have better light in the bathroom. Primary maybe. But in the powder bathroom, it's fine if it's a little more dim. I mean, no one's going to be doing their makeup there, getting ready every morning there. Like that could be more of a special moment where the light doesn't need to be as bright as any other space needs to be. So warm light bulbs, always, yes,
and dimmers,
and everything.
I need to get busy in my house then.
I mean, they make dimmers for lamps too. Like it's not just for your, lights. It's for everything. I mean, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Okay. What feels timeless right now versus overly trendy?
I think that one thing it's creating those layers of different. I feel like you don't want to follow just one aesthetic, and I think it's layering different time frames of pieces that you have. So we usually love spending a little more money on a sectional that might look a little more modern, but we are going to bring in an antique with a little side table, or the light is going to look a little more vintage, or the chair is going to have a little bit of a shape that is not going to be matching with the sectional. We want to make sure that it doesn't look like a catalog page. We want to make sure it looks collected and every single piece has been thought of, and it has a little bit more of a meaning than just like everything feels like it belongs in the same timeline.
Right.
Like I feel like you can go into like a like a 90s house and you can tell, oh, the sofa is that arm and those are the fabrics that they would have picked.
Yes.
And there would be chrome everywhere. Like the silvers was a big thing, and the pattern on the rug. So I feel like we love bring different ages and layers that make it unable to be recognized when it was built.
Right.
So if you have an antique and then it kind of confuses a little bit that in a good way to be like, okay, we don't know when that was done, which makes it a little more timeless and less trendy. And it's fine to combine modern with antiques, and there's a way that you need to layer it, and it's all about the fabrics and the materials that you pick for it to flow. Also, paint is huge. I think creating spaces that the paint color, it's between paint and wallpaper. I feel like your walls, it's so important to address that. And it's not just creating a white box.
Yeah.
Like the white room, white box is kind of going away because everyone wants a little more personality, a little more character. Just feels a little cozier when you're building from the walls in and having that as a plan.
Do you have a favorite paint color?
I love black. Don't be afraid of black.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My kitchen in the house is black. My kitchen in the office is black. I will paint black trim anywhere. It's just a color that if there's a myth that black makes things smaller and tighter,
Right.
and not as, and it just gives a lot of different dimension. It's a good frame to build from it. So if I can use black in a project, I will use it anytime. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. Because sometimes people are a little afraid of black.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And it has to be in the right space for the right place. But yeah, black is a great color that just kind of becomes like a solid form to like layer on. So
Yeah. I've seen the black trim,
it just makes it's a fun frame for a room. So
love it. What design choices can actually, do you think, hurt a property?
I'm gonna go back to lighting. I think that's a huge thing that could really hurt a project. When I hate going into a house that has 20,000 cans in the ceiling. Some people might just find, we've had to go in and clean so many ceilings. They're like, you thought it was going to be a great lighting in the room, unnecessary. You don't need that. So lighting is huge. I'm going to go back to paint. Painting something completely white without any character can really damage a project. Even if it's the dining room, just paint a little bit of a different shade. And the kitchen doesn't need to be all white kitchen. Make a little bit of a different impact with natural materials or changing the countertops, or, there's so many other ways to incorporate character.
Right.
So I think lighting, paint, and then styling. Of course, the styling is super important of picking things that, we love saying that we like saying the house is a book and every chapter is a room. And we want to make sure that the book flows. So the styling of like the hardware that you pick for the doors, the lights that you pick for the bathroom, like it should all feel like it's telling the same story.
Not necessarily all has to be the same.
It doesn't need to match.
Yes.
But if it's a 1930s house and you want to keep the character on it, like we want to make sure that the hardware on the door goes with the house, and the lighting that you're picking. It's okay to mix and match and add some modern different times, but sometimes there's some essential things that do make a difference, but it doesn't feel like, oh wait, where did this come from? And like, why would you like change that into something that doesn't belong in the house? So
Right. Oh, good. Okay. When you walk into a home, what are the immediate signals that tell you it's going to resonate with a person or a buyer? Or
I feel like in my case, I get way more familiar with my clients. When it's a new client, it's a little harder from the beginning, and we love seeing multiple houses and figuring out what they love from each house. But I think the main thing is scale. I think is figuring out the size of the rooms, the functionality of how people live, kind of depends on the client, but it's like, do I know that there's going to be a client that loves entertaining? So we do need to figure out that there's a dining room and there's a living room that's easy for entertainment. Is the kitchen flow makes sense if they have a caterer coming, or if they're cooking dinner for a dinner party, or if they're in charge of hosting Thanksgiving every year. Like, is this something that's going to flow if they have a big family? So I think scale is kind of like the big thing when you walk into a house.
Well, going back to, I'm going to circle back to kind of earlier in our conversation, but you were talking about entertainment spaces and dining room. What's a fun element in a dining room that you really like, or you personally like to have?
I mean, I usually try to go for a round table.
Okay.
If I have the option, a round table is huge for me. But I think for entertaining, it's also very important to have other surfaces that's not just the table. Like, I think in order to entertain, even if you're catering and you have help, like it's nice to have a space where you can mix drinks, or if you're doing a buffet style, like it's good to like have other surfaces that help you like kind of like make that environment functional.
Yes,
and
comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's important. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, do we really need more things, or do we just put lamps in there and just fill it up? I'm like, no, it's good to have some surface that you can clean up when you're entertaining, or if you're going with the theme, or if you're hosting a bigger party, like that's where you can sit, little gifts, or I don't know.
Yeah, I
nice
like
to have
it.
the space.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about scale and how important it is, but where do you see it most often done wrong?
Oof, good question.
I think if you came to my house, you would absolutely see it done wrong.
I mean, are we talking about the room size, or are we talking what the actual pieces are in there? Because I feel like it can be both ways.
Okay.
I feel like there's some times where we walk in and some of the bedrooms are a second thought, and some of the bedrooms are way smaller than the scale of the house should be. So I feel like that has been a little bit of a mistake when I've seen, when we're looking at real estate and you're like, okay, yes, it's a kid's room or secondary room, but wish the scale was a little bigger. Even if it's a guest bedroom, I want to make sure that we can fit a little desk and a dresser, and for your guests to feel comfortable, and not just like a bed with nightstands, I think scales on the rooms is whenever there's a living room that's extremely big, that is taking a lot of the house square footage, where it would be nice to have it a little bit more split up for different functionalities. But scale and furniture and furnishings, rugs is a big thing. The bigger the rug, the better. The room's going to feel better. All the furniture should be sitting on the rug. Sofas are it's a big investment.
Right.
We try to make sure that the big investments, like your dining room table, your sofas, your sectionals, those are big investments that you want to spend more money, that maybe in 10, 15 years you have to recover, but your frame works. And the scale on those pieces is kind of like what makes a room flow.
Right.
So if you're doing a big sectional, make sure it is the right scale and it's not just the entire room. That your dining room table fits where when you pull your chairs, everyone feels comfortable. Those are the scale pieces that make sure you measure right and you put the right size of pieces on there. So
I like it. Okay. What's one design detail that most people overlook but really makes a significant impact?
I hate saying it, but I'm going back to lighting.
We're going back to lighting.
I know, I feel like I keep repeating myself about it, but lights it makes a room. It makes it or kills it. And I think is, again, layering that light, not just the cans, but having table lamps, floor lamps, different times of the day, how that changes. I think that's going back to the same thing. Yep.
Lighting. I like it. I like it.
Lighting, and I'll say it again. The paint is huge. The rug patterns are a big thing that can change a room too. And then finishes. Spend money on your finishes, like your faucet for your kitchen. That can be a big investment, again, that you should use it every day.
Right.
And so if you spend less money on something that's going to be falling apart, or like the little handout,
right.
If you don't spend the money, then the kitchen functionality goes away. So it's kind of nice to spend money on that.
The things that you use.
And every day, exactly.
Every day.
That, your shower, your faucets, make it where it's like your little pieces of jewel pieces that you spend a little more money, but it's worth it long term.
Your accessories.
That's right, exactly, right? Yes.
Okay, how do you, we talked a little bit again about layering, but how do you make it elevated but still livable, you know? I mean, for those of us that have dogs and kids, and you want it to be elevated, but it also has to withstand the...
Totally, exactly. When I think fabrics is a huge thing. I feel like we're in a world that there are so many options to picking fabrics that are very easy to clean and durable, and they still look like they should just be like a silk velvet,
Right.
but it's actually something that you can clean so easy. So picking your materials right, your fabrics right. And it's also, we love the idea of layering with character. So it's like, make it feel elevated with your accessories. Like we love creating character when clients come in and they're like, well, that came from my grandmother, but I don't know where to put it. Or there's a piece of furniture that, you know, it's been passed from my parents. Like, what do we do? And those pieces, it's kind of fun to layer them in, you know, and have a little bit more elevated antique look and has a little bit more of story. So I think the accessories and the fabrics that you pick can really bring a space to life. So
Make it livable.
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Okay. So where do you think the highest return on investment is when it comes to design?
I mean, I think there's spaces that you should be spending a little more money when it comes to bathrooms and kitchens. I mean, I think we all know.
Sure.
Those are kind of like spaces that if you're going in, I know you're going to figure out if it was done right or if something that you're going to have to change. So those are two spaces that I think are super important to like spend the money and do it right from the beginning. You don't want to redo your kitchen in
No,
10
that's a
years.
big-
Like it's one that you should do it right from the beginning, have a space planner, have an architect draw it, make sure that it's done correctly and spend the money right in it. I go back to lighting, but spend the right money. I mean, your chandelier in your living room or your dining room. Like that is one space that for resale, I mean, if you have a really pretty chandelier, you know, that's not just like a trendy look,
Right.
then it's something that's going to photograph better when you're selling it, but it's also something you're going to enjoy and be able to like dress in, live with, you know, that you're going to love. Yeah, I think those are kind of like the main
ones.
spaces and like you should not go into like an inexpensive option.
Right.
So, because it shows.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're going to have a few rapid fire questions. So get ready.
All right.
Neutral palette or bold statement room?
Neutral palette.
Neutral palette. Okay.
I think it's you can do a neutral palette, but then make your bold statement with other pieces.
Okay.
So, I mean, I call black and neutral, but like then you can make like the sofa fabric, make it a little bit more of a statement, or your pillow, something that can be easier to change. But then with your neutral palette, you can make so many things work, make it be a really fun piece, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Marble or quartzite?
Always marble. And it gets better with time. Let it have rings, let it wear. It's kind of like a leather. Like the more you wear it, the better it's going to look. Like it's fun to go into a bar that has like a leather, like a marble top.
Yeah.
And it feels so much more inviting to put your drink down. I'm like, you know,
Right.
feels way more livable once it gets used and has a little more character.
Okay. Open shelving or hidden storage?
I mean, it kind of depends on the space, but I'm going to say closed storage.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's good to be able to have your open shelving in some areas, but the majority should be closed and keep some things that, you know, not everything needs to be exposed.
Not everything needs to be
Right,
seen.
exactly.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Matte black or polished brass?
Not polished brass. It should always be unlacquered brass.
Okay.
Because brass is a living material that should age with time and it just gets better, just like marble.
Okay.
But matte black always, yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. One material you're loving right now?
I mean, you brought marble. I feel like I've been trying to push marble on clients and be like, I'm afraid of my kitchen having the marble. I'm like, and getting, you know, rings. I'm like, that is one thing that you should always just live with it. Like, that's something that I've always encouraged. We're loving a grass cloth. I mean, I feel like that grass wool is something that I've always been obsessed, but I'm still obsessed. And I feel like there's so many new options of colors and patterns on it. And it could be a neutral, like anyone can turn into whatever look they want it, but also it could be a statement that can make a room.
Yep.
So our grass cloth is something that I feel like it's always a good addition.
Okay.
And there's now vinyl grass cloths or vinyl that look like a grass cloth that you can use at bars and bathrooms, and it gives you the effect, but it's easy to wipe and easy to maintain. So they look pretty amazing.
Good. Okay. One trend you're ready to retire, or what you're seeing that you wish people would retire.
I feel like we talked about it, but the one big room situation should go away. I think the grays and all white rooms are done. and then unlacquer, or when it's a brass that has
Oh, yes.
been shiny and it's yellow, then it needs to go away too. Yeah,
I already know the answer to this one. Formal dining rooms, yes or no?
always.
Always.
Absolutely.
I love it. Best city for design inspiration?
Paris.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
Paris.
that's my favorite city, just to walk around and, whether it's winter, summer, fall.
Do you
any time
go?
of
How
year.
often do you get to go?
At least once a year in January, I go to Deco Off. That
Okay.
is my non-negotiable.
Okay.
But I try to go at least 2 or 3 times. It's kind of like my favorite city. So, and just walking around, I mean, looking at hotels, it's such an inspiration. There's always something new. So
Yes, yes. Paris is fabulous.
it is.
Do you have a coffee order?
I drink coffee. I'm a
Okay.
tea person.
I.
I love that.
Yes, yes.
So I'm a matcha in the morning,
Okay.
and then black or green tea during the day.
Okay.
But yeah, no coffee.
Yeah, I'm a no coffee girl too. No, no. All right. One word that defines your aesthetic.
Layered.
Layered.
We love creating layers, and when you think a space is done, there's always a little layer that you can add in there. There's a little more personality that can be, if you're traveling and find a little antique that's amazing, we'll find a place or a piece of art, or there's always something that can be layered in. So
Excellent. If you weren't a designer, what would you do? Or be?
So if you ask my office, I would be an antique dealer because I'm always shopping
Okay.
and finding antiques.
Do you often go to the flea markets in Paris? Or
Every time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I try to do
yes?
as many antique shopping as I can.
Yeah.
But I think if I had a choice and start over, or was not doing a design, I would do a movie set designer.
Ooh,
Like I
that's
feel like that
super
kind of
interesting.
feels kind of in the same. It's a little faster paced than design, but it feels like lets you be creative and creating a story for a character, which is kind of like what we do, is creating a story for a client. So I feel like that could
That
be
would
kind
be
of
neat.
fun.
Yes,
right? I
that
think
would be
so.
really neat.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one last question.
Okay.
What does luxury mean in 2026, do you feel?
Luxury means understanding the functionality of your spaces and making them functional with the right materials. I feel like picking the right materials for a space that you want to make very personal. That's a true luxury. Like figuring out even a nursery, like make it luxury where it can be, looks amazing, but it's also very functional with the right fabrics that you picked and the right rugs and pieces that are going to last a long time that, can be inherited or can be like moved around the house or changed because you spend the right money and it's a good piece. So I feel like that's a good luxury when you find the right pieces that can be in your life forever. So
Excellent. I love that. I love that. Well, Javier, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. This
What
is so
a treat
fun.
it was to have
you.
you
This is
join
awesome.
us this morning. And thank you for taking the time to share your perspective and
course.
giving us a deeper look into how thoughtful design really influences the way people experience a home. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe and share it with someone who would enjoy it as well. So thanks for being with us on Soul Before Sunrise, and we will see you next time.